welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
Hello, beautiful people of Steelers Nation. It's a beautiful rainy day here in the Burgh. Thank you for jumping on, to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Noah Strackbine, joined every Tuesday and Thursday by my main man, Donnie Droon. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Donnie, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great. It's a great day. It's opening day for baseball, so I thought I would show some support for the hometown Buccos. I'm ready for another very not great year of baseball, so it's good to be back.
When was the last time you sat down and actually watched a baseball game?
Okay, in person or on TV?
If your answer is on TV, I'm surprised, but let's go either.
I really like to watch playoff baseball because I feel like it means a little bit more. Usually my wife and I try to go see the Pirates every time they come out here to Phoenix and play the Diamondbacks. So last year, whenever they came out here in the summer, is probably the last time I start to finish watched a baseball game.
Can you name 3 people that were on that Pirates team?
Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds, and I think Josh Bell might have been traded.
Yeah, he's been gone for 2 years.
Yeah. Josh Bell is definitely not on that roster.
No.
No, bro.
You can't name 3. I was thinking, I personally had no idea it was opening day until I was watching ESPN this morning waiting for the Masters to come on. And they start talking about opening day in baseball. And I was like, oh, baseball. It's a thing. I forgot about baseball. That's what happens when you live in Pittsburgh.
Bro, Tiger's looking good.
Yeah, I tossed $25 on Tiger at 5,000 odds, and I'm feeling real good, my friend. I'm feeling real good. Real good. All right, let's get into some football. The Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, it's draft month. We are running out of things to talk about, but we're going to make things to talk about. Is a quarterback the first-round pick? We'll obviously dive into that. I kind of have a theory that they're going to go a different direction at pick 20. The Steelers are disrespected terribly right now. Terribly. And I'm sure that will change as we go through training camp and such and find out their final schedule, the whole 9. Right now, the sports books are saying the Steelers are going to suck. I don't agree with it. I don't believe you agree with it. And as always, make sure you're dropping questions in our comment section because we're going to try to get to pretty much all of them throughout the show. All right, Donnie, let's talk about some sports books. It's been a long day. It's been a very long day. The Pittsburgh Steelers, according to Caesars Sportsbooks and FanDuel, 7.5 win over under heading into the draft. Even before you go, they'll probably add some talent in April, so that will boost anything. If you're looking at the team right now, I think we both have to agree, and maybe you don't, but I feel like you do. 7.5. What are we even talking about right now? The Pittsburgh Steelers have drastically improved from last season, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is coming from a dude who is really pessimistic typically whenever it comes to the Steelers and just the overall outlook of the team in general. 7.5 kind of feels low. It feels really low. I do agree with you. I feel much better about this team, at least heading to the draft, than I did last year. Obviously, there's still a couple holes that the Steelers need to fix and patch up. Not a fan of the quarterback move, but I've kind of come down on the Trubisky signing. 7.5 feels low, and that is banking that Mike Tomlin is going to have his first losing season as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this is also his first season where he's going into week 1 without a Hall of Fame quarterback. So we will definitely have to see how those things kind of develop and pan out. I thought it was interesting though, because normally the Steelers are good for right around that 8 to 9.5 win range. Their number last year was set at 9.5, which cashed, by the way, straight cash, homie.
Beautiful.
That's a full game under 500 because with the schedule expanding to 17 games, they're basically saying, hey, if the Steelers maybe get lucky with 2 of their games next season, they're going to be slightly above 500. I'm of the opinion that the Steelers can play well enough defense that hopefully they can do a little bit more on offense this year And like I just don't expect this very steep drop off. I don't expect him to be a playoff team next year, but I certainly don't expect them to be under 7.5 wins. Are you kidding me?
I 100% expect them to be playoff team next year. Well, and I don't understand why people have that assumption, and you're not alone with that. There's a lot of people talking right now about how the Pittsburgh Steelers, fans and not fans, will not be a playoff team next season. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers can not only make the playoffs, but I think that they have a chance to win the AFC North because they have an opportunity to fix their defense, because we saw what their defense could do when it's good. I mean, you look at 2 years ago, that defense was possibly the best in football. You have a lot of those pieces returning. You added Miles Jack in the middle, which was the obvious glare for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense last season. I hope that he helps a lot. Again, big question mark, but a confident question mark. The defensive line, if it could stay healthy, big question mark, obviously, but some upside, some hope there. I hope a second-year jump for Isaiah Loudermilk is pretty significant, along with a couple other pieces. I think the cornerback room got better and could still improve. And whether people like it or not, I think that even if Terrell Edmunds is still the option, sitting here right now with the possibility that it's not him, makes me feel better. Just makes me feel like there's higher upside. Not, the ceiling or the floor is obviously a lot lower without Terrell Edmunds there, but I think the ceiling is higher without Terrell Edmunds there. So 7.5, that's a joke. I would take that easy money, throw it all on there. You're Mike Tomlin. First off, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't lose with Mike Tomlin, and you can hate Mike Tomlin all you want for whatever reasons you want to hate him for, and you can make the argument because everybody does. Oh, Mike Tomlin doesn't win in the playoffs. Well, he gets them to the playoffs pretty much all the time. So you could pretty much guess that they're going to win more than 7 games. And I know that you hate him, man, but Mitchell Trubisky could win some football games if need be. More than 7.
I want to make this very clear. I do not hate Mitchell Trubisky. I just do not think I don't think he's the answer at quarterback. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope he's a very good bridge quarterback to Desmond Ridder, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. I just don't think him sitting a year in Buffalo and having a bunch of people say good things about him automatically makes him a good quarterback, because he was not a good quarterback the last time that we saw him.
He wasn't a good quarterback the last time that we saw him, but when he first came into the NFL, he was a good quarterback.
No.
Yeah, he was.
But to your defense, though, you really only need Trubisky to play behind a really solid defense and hopefully establish the run better in 2022. If he can just not turn the ball over and manage a game very, very well, you're not asking him to go out there and throw 300 yards and 4 tutties every week. I feel like that is the absolute wrong way to go whenever it comes to Trubisky.
I don't think the offense got better. I don't think there's any part of me that believes the offense is going to win games this season. It's going to be the defense. Yeah. I think the offense got dramatically worse. The defense got a lot better, but they did what they finally were supposed to do. Like, Mitchell Trubisky was just supposed to have the best defense in football, and he just can't lose games. And a couple weeks ago, we were like, oh, well, he still has the worst defensive or terrible defense. But that offense, I mean, he could stand back there all day long. And you better go draft Malik Willis or Desmond Ridder, because they're just going to have to run the football, because Najee Harris can't take every handoff. Who are you throwing the ball to? Deontay Johnson? Chase Claypool? Well, they both have double coverage because there's nobody else on the field. Pat Fryermuth's about to catch 15 touchdowns. That offense is bad.
One interesting thing, I'm looking at the opponents right now. We don't quite yet know the schedule of like when and where. Not where, but like when they'll be playing everybody. The furthest west they have to go this year is Indianapolis.
Beautiful. That's what I'm saying. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. That schedule is not, last year's schedule, they made it to playoffs last year with a terrible team. I get what Ben Roethlisberger is. I'm not trying to downplay Ben Roethlisberger, even though you could make an argument that Ben Roethlisberger's impact on this team was both good and bad. You make the playoffs, they have the second hardest schedule in football. This year is nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. So 7.5 wins. Joke. What do you think? What would you say their final record is? Because you don't believe they get into the playoffs. So what would their record be?
I'd say like 9-8.
9-8, a 9-8 team. What do you think makes the playoffs in the AFC this year?
I'll go Cleveland. I'll go Cleveland, Buffalo. Until I'm proven wrong, Kansas City.
No, well, yeah, obviously.
Cincinnati.
Wait, did you start that with Cleveland?
I did.
What if Deshaun Watson doesn't play?
I think Deshaun Watson's going to play. I think Deshaun Watson will be suspended probably between 6 to 10 games, and then they're going to fight and get that down to a slightly lower number. I think they're going to hang on to Baker Mayfield or Jacoby Brissett, who they went and grabbed in the offseason, is going to kind of like handle that team for whatever time period they need to. Then they're going to hand the keys over to Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson is going to do Deshaun Watson things.
You might be the only person in all of Steelers Nation that believes the Cleveland Browns aren't going to be the Cleveland Browns. I think the Cleveland Browns are going to ruin.
The problem is that we were hyping up Deshaun Watson as this great savior for the quarterback position, right? Like in Pittsburgh. If you saw Deshaun Watson in black and gold, the Steelers immediately become a threat in the AFC. No.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, the Browns have a significantly better roster almost everywhere you look. Besides quarterback, they are significantly better. Everywhere,
I agree with
almost everywhere.
I agree with that. I agree with all of that. Yeah, right. But we've been here before.
So how should I feel when they add one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL?
Everything you're saying
about them, right?
Everything you're saying makes sense. Everything you're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
But like we've been here before. We've been in these situations.
Deshaun Watson.
Not with Deshaun Watson, but with other quarterbacks that should have been as good as Deshaun Watson. They've had their opportunities with guys, and they have not worked out. Who
has been a quarterback that's been close to Deshaun Watson on their team?
I mean,
nobody. Literally nobody.
Literally nobody. But they have destroyed plenty of quarterbacks, including 2 first-rounders and a second, and to the point of like lost the NFL chance. Brady Quinn never even got an opportunity. And say what you want, Brady Quinn
was not a good NFL quarterback.
But in today's NFL, Brady Quinn would have been a very good NFL quarterback.
Stop. No.
Why do you think that? What makes you feel that? What makes you feel that way? He had a strong arm. He was mobile. He was
at best a game manager. At very, very best. He woke up every day and wish he could be Alex Smith.
Yes, exactly. But in the NFL, when he came into the NFL, Alex Smith couldn't make it. You couldn't make it as an Alex Smith. He came in when an NFL where you had to be Peyton Manning. There was no room for. I mean, even Drew Brees was like defining things. People were like, "Oh my gosh, Drew Brees leaves the pocket. This is nuts. Who does this?" Brady Quinn was an Alex Smith. I mean, Alex Smith took a team to the Super Bowl. I don't care what you say about Colin Kaepernick. I think Colin Kaepernick's a good quarterback, but Alex Smith took that team to a Super Bowl. And he pretty much did the same thing with the Chiefs. He got the Chiefs where they need to be to make the playoffs. Then he handed the keys to Patrick Mahomes. Alex Smith's a good quarterback. Alex Smith in Cleveland would have won some games. He would have won some games. So they've ruined Brady Quinn. I think they ruined Brady Quinn. I think Brady Quinn had an opportunity. I think in today's NFL, Brady Quinn does a lot better. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but I'm saying he might be Mitchell Trubisky. Mitchell Trubisky right now has a starting job. Deshaun Kaiser didn't even get an opportunity.
Bro, get out of here. Oh, my God. Stop the podcast. If you're going to bring up Deshaun Kaiser.
But you have to look at where they came in. I mean, that's a second-round pick.
Okay, the Steelers ruined Mason Rudolph. He's a second-round pick.
We agree on that all the time. And he's third-round pick.
They did not ruin him because he wasn't a good quarterback. There's no ruin. He did it himself.
No, I don't think that. I think that Mason Rudolph was ruined by the atmosphere of which the Steelers presented him. Like, Steelers fans hated him from the jump. Ben Roethlisberger hated him from the jump. Those are you need two things on your side to be a successful quarterback.
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, what about Josh Dobbs? Josh Dobbs was a 5th-round quarterback. Okay, you're not supposed to be good as a 5th. Landry Jones did what he needed to do, but even Landry Jones was not a 2nd-round pick. You're going deep diving into quarterbacks here. Mason Rudolph's your only argument. Deshaun Kaiser is a 2nd-round pick, early 2nd-round pick. He was
Deshaun Kaiser should not have been a 2nd-round pick.
But that's what people will say in 3 years about every quarterback in this draft. But in 10 years, when Desmond Ridder doesn't work out for the Detroit Lions, you want to know what they're going to be saying? The Detroit Lions ruined Desmond Ridder. That's exactly what they're going to be saying. You know that's what they're going to be saying because that's what happens. You could make, I mean, Tom Brady is a crazy example, but you can make it in the NFL if you are surrounded by the things that you need to become good. You're good enough to get to the NFL. I don't think the Cleveland Browns have anything ever to say, we put you in a position to succeed. I mean, heck, Baker Mayfield still has a career ahead of him. And the Browns did everything they can to just destroy that career. Everything in their power to destroy that career.
I think they set him up in a system to where he just needed to not turn the ball over, and he still managed to do that. And like they somehow still went to the playoffs. We're forgetting. They took the Chiefs down to the wire in the AFC Championship game. They took them down to the wire.
Yeah. That's my point is I think Baker Mayfield, when is good, I mean, he's not good, but he's good enough. Like Baker Mayfield should start in the NFL. By no means, I don't think he's a backup. Not last year. Last year was rough, but think about what they did to him. They put him out there with an injury. They basically tried to like hide his injury all season long and downplay how serious it was so that he looked like the bad guy. And then in the offseason said, hey, screw you, man. And then when he was like, okay, well, could I at least get a fresh start? Which all 31 other teams would be like, yes, you could go get a fresh start because we took a first overall pick on you. We realized we're in a better spot without you. We're still going to give you an opportunity. You want to know what they said? Nah, brah, we good. You could sit behind Deshaun Watson because maybe we'll need you. This is not an organization that puts their players in position to win.
I agree historically, and we do need to wrap this up. I think at the end of the day,
I'll argue this all day. What you talking about? I need to wrap this up.
The Browns have proven themselves to not be that great of an organization, right? But the last few years, they have slowly but surely turned themselves around. Now, you can argue what success should mean for the Browns compared to the Steelers, this, and that. Look, the Browns have won more playoff games than the Steelers in the last 3 years.
True.
It's true. And you look at that roster, and I think we can all agree that Deshaun Watson is an upgrade over Baker Mayfield. No?
A huge upgrade.
So you pretty much the same roster, pretty much the same people running the show there. You throw Deshaun Watson in the mix, and I'm just saying they should be a very good football team. They should. And to a lot of the people's comments in the chat, they are paper champions every single year.
Every single year.
But they have not had a Deshaun Watson quarterback every single year. And I really think that's where things will start to shift and change.
All right. So I look at again, just like from the start, I everything you're saying makes 100% sense. Mm-hmm. It is like improving until otherwise. Mike Tomlin's not going to have a losing season. The Cleveland Browns are not going to do as well as you believe they're going to. But I will give you that Deshaun Watson would have made the Pittsburgh Steelers a Super Bowl contender. So maybe. There's a maybe. All right. To everybody, I'm not even going to address this, but to everybody in the comments saying Mike Tomlin's a bad coach, like I get the argument. 3 don't win in playoff games. Go look up how many coaches have actually won Super Bowls. It's difficult to win a Super Bowl. And the Pittsburgh Steelers were declining. You win your Super Bowl, your quarterback's rookie contract. The fact that he did it without a rookie contract with the Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl in Ben's non-rookie contract says a lot.
Second highest winning percentage in the NFL since he started in 2007 as a head coach, only behind Bill Belichick, who I think is the GOAT. All right.
Yeah. Belichick is the GOAT. And that's the problem. You're playing in an era with GOATness, which is just hard to do. When you don't have one, you have 2. You have Bill Belichick, which people are like, oh, well, it was Brady. Yeah, shut up. They won a game running the ball every single down last year. That doesn't happen. And 2, Tom Brady, which was in your account. You had to get through Tom Brady to make it to the Super Bowl. Very, very difficult to do. Before that, it was Peyton Manning. Not to mention Denver Broncos' incredible defense for 3 years in a row with, Peyton Manning as their quarterback. And they almost beat them if Larry Toussaint or whatever the heck his name was, Fitzgerald Toussaint, didn't fumble the football.
He still hasn't accepted my request to follow him on Twitter.
That guy needs to
Dude,
change his
I
ways.
was like younger Donnie Druin was going to give him a earful after that game.
I would love to one day just do a deep dive into all of the players that young Donnie Druin has just torched on Twitter, because it's probably bad. It's probably bad. You were out here like on MySpace, just like, Tommy Maddox fan, you suck. I hate you. I hope we draft a quarterback.
Can confirm Tommy Maddox was not in my top 8 on MySpace.
Was not?
No.
I bet you there was at least one Steeler in your top 8 on MySpace. I would put money on that if we could look it up.
It was all ladies. So.
Oh my. Of course it was. Of course it was. All right. Let's talk about the Steelers NFL draft, because we're weeks away. Things are heating up.
Less than 3 weeks.
Less than 3 weeks
today, actually, bro.
It is Thursday. 3 weeks today. Todd McShay, Malik Willis, Pat Schrager at Good Morning Football, Malik Willis, me and Derek, Desmond Ridder. Seems to be a trend going here about who the Pittsburgh Steelers will take with their first round pick. Nobody believes that they're going to trade up anymore. At this point, people are just tossing out there, oh, Malik Willis is going to fall, Desmond Ridder is going to fall, Kenny Pickett's going to go in the top 10, and that's going to be it. Is it safe to assume at this point that a quarterback will be their first pick in the 2022 NFL draft?
I don't want to say safe to assume, especially whenever it comes to the draft, but the Steelers have done a very bad job of masking who they like and who they really, really like. As we're speaking, Desmond Ridder had a visit with the Steelers today. And like, I know that doesn't necessarily mean he is 1,000% going to the Steelers, because any of the 19 teams before or any of the 12 teams after can go, or sorry, 11 can go and take Desmond Ridder in the first round. I think they know they're not going to get Willis. And I think they are very, very set on Desmond Ridder. At this time, I fully expect Desmond Ridder to be the guy at 20. I really, really do. And I know you have different thoughts about that.
I do.
And I think it is somewhat dependent on who's going to be on the board, because if you have a guy like Kyle Hamilton, if you have a guy like Jordan Davis, or maybe even like Derek Stingley on the board available, who can immediately come in and give whatever position group you need to a boost like that, then I think you do it. I think you say, okay.
Oh, yeah.
We got Trubisky, we got Rudolph, we got Haskins. We're cool with that for at least 1 year. We'll worry about everything else in 2023. We need to get a guy like this immediately right now. My question is, how many of those guys are really that high on the Steelers draft board to forego a quarterback?
So my thoughts have changed here, because at the beginning, I didn't think it was many, but I like that we're going through the process, because it's kind of given me the idea that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going one of two ways with their first round pick. They're either 100% sold on a quarterback and they don't really care which one it is, or they're going defensive back, because that is the only two positions that they have just dug into as much as they possibly can. If you're bringing Kyle Hamilton in for a visit, you're doing your homework on guys you shouldn't even need to do. And that's the thing. They don't do their homework on guys that they don't need to do their homework on. Derek Stingley was a guy that many believe could still fall to them at 20. Sauce Gardner's not. You want to know why they went to Cincinnati's Pro Day? Not to watch Sauce Gardner, to watch Desmond Ridder. You want to know why they went to Clemson's Pro Day? To watch Andrew Booth, because he has the potential to slide back. You want to know why they went to Stingley's? Because he has the potential to slide back. Daxton Hills was the same way. They weren't there watching Aiden Hutchinson like, oh man, I hope this guy falls to 20. Like, that's not their MO. And they know that. They're smart enough to do their homework on these guys and do it correctly. And I think those are the only two positions that they've shown. Here's my thing. This is where things might get interesting. And I've thought about this a lot today and in the past couple of days. The Pittsburgh Steelers need a quarterback, but when you look through the draft, and I know we talked the other day about how the trades in the NFL might have shaken things up, but really, nobody's really gung-ho on getting a quarterback in this draft, including the Steelers. There might still be a guy like Desmond Ridder that falls to like just the end of that first round. Like a lot of people are mocking him at the Lions with the first pick in the second round or the last pick in the first round, whatever it is. Those guys. Sam Howell is another name. He'll be here tomorrow to visit with the Steelers. Obviously been high on him for a long time. I think that there's an opportunity for the Pittsburgh Steelers to draft a defensive back if one falls, and there's plenty of them. Like I don't expect, just to go through the list of who they met with in pro days, Daxton Hill, Derek Stingley, Lewis Kine, whatever his last name is, Andrew Booth, Kyle Hamilton, Sauce Gardner. I don't expect all those guys to be gone by 20. I expect at least one of them to be sitting around. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers could take one of those guys, feel good about adding to their defensive backfield, and then maybe pull the Baltimore Ravens and say, we're going to go get Desmond Ridder at the end of the first round. Let's use a third round pick and move up. Been thinking about it a lot.
That's such a gamble. Like that is really a gamble. If you think Ritter's the guy, and for you to take somebody and then try to again move up either at the very end of the first or at the beginning of the second. And like the comment that Kevin Colbert made like still like resonates in my head. I don't want to leave this team without its next franchise quarterback. I think we can all agree Trubisky is not the next franchise guy. Rudolph is not the next franchise guy. Haskins is not the franchise guy. Colbert's contract ends after the 2022 NFL draft. So if this dude is really sticking to that word, they're going to go get somebody. See,
I think that his comments since then, though, have like drifted away from that because he did say that, and that has stuck out to me a lot. But he's also complimented Mitchell Trubisky to the point where he somewhat believes he could be an answer for this team. He's also said that like Mason Rudolph is still the guy, and they're going to believe that he's the guy. He's also said that there is quarterback talent in this draft, but there isn't a lot of quarterback talent in this draft, which does help your point. Maybe they are thinking that. I just think it's more of why are you rushing the gun if Desmond Ridder is your best option on the board still at 20 and you still have Matt Corral and Sam Howell behind them, which they've met with all three enough times to think they're comfortable with all three of them. I think that they could like let that one slide and take that gamble. I don't know how much farther behind them they could go before they have to make a move, but that's what the Baltimore Ravens did, and they ended up with Lamar Jackson. And to your point, I think that they don't want to take that risk, but I also think that they have learned from Baltimore, and they could see a guy like Desmond Ridder and say, okay, we need a defensive back. We feel real good about defensive back, but we are not going to let Desmond Ridder slide through our fingers. So we're going to take this guy and then we're going to immediately move back up as soon as he hits, that spot that we need to get to where we feel, okay, this is getting dangerous. And I think that they can move back in and get him.
I do think the good part about having a guy like that sliding into like the 20s is a lot of those teams were obviously like the higher up in the draft order that you get, the more teams have with like an established like quarterback. So, they're not really looking at like a guy like Ridder or Crow or like whoever it might be.
Yep.
It's probably a little bit safer to do that. Whereas opposed if you're picking at like pick 12 or like 13 or somewhere around there where like, teams will jump like 10 plus spots to go and get their guy. It's tough. It's tough. My whole basis is if they're sold on Ridder, not Corral, not Howell, whoever it might be, if they really like Ridder, and like let's be real, I think Ridder's probably the most realistic option that they have sitting there at pick 20. If they like him, they might be able to trade back a couple spots and still get him at like 23, 25. Yeah. And like that's the problem with this is that like for a very long time in like the early stages of the draft process, I think both you and I, along with everybody else, kind of was looking at like the second round saying, hey, the Steelers can address the position in the first, and then, like Desmond Ridder, like they can go snatch him up in a second, no problem. Yep. Whereas now we're close to the draft, we're starting to kind of fill things out a little bit better. And it's getting to the point where it really looks like Desmond Ridder is going to be a first round pick, whether he's in Pittsburgh, whether it's somewhere else. It really looks like at the moment that he's going to be a first round guy.
He is. I think he is going to be a first round guy. I truly believe that. And I also believe that there's an opportunity or the potential that he isn't even there at 20. I think to some degree, the Pittsburgh Steelers might just be out of luck and be like, well, we don't have a quarterback here.
So if he's not there at 20, for whatever reason, let's say a team jumps up to 19 and gets him, do you think anything changes with that? Do you think they take a guy like Corral or Howell in the first round? Do you think they go best player available? Do you think they move back and try to figure things out from there?
No, I think that they take a defensive back at that point. I'm pretty sold that those will be the only two positions they take in the first round, is either a safety or a cornerback, and which all these guys could play both pretty much, and a quarterback. I think that's the only two positions they want there. I mean, outside of if Jordan Davis slides to 20, but chances are that's not going to happen, or Devin Lloyd slides to 20, those are different. But I think that at that point, you could take the risk, because if your options are Matt Corral or Sam Howell, you probably like Sam Howell more than you like Matt Corral if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, just by how much interest they've shown so far. And I think that a team is likely to choose Corral over Howell at the end of the first round. Like the Detroit Lions, if they're thinking quarterback, and I think that changes a lot too. For all three of those guys to be gone, you either have to say the Detroit Lions take Malik Willis at 2, or the Atlanta Falcons and the Saints, the Eagles, the Washington Commanders, those guys get real ballsy and take Kenny Pickett or whoever else is there. Yeah. And then one of them takes Ridder, excuse me. So I think at that point you could just say, hey, we'll just wait around for pick 2 and one of them will be there. Which, I don't know. Here's a question, though. If they did move up, and I know that we don't agree on this, but if they did move up, what do you think it would cost to get back into the first round?
If you're moving up from their second round pick, and we'll say pick 30 or 31, right? Somewhere at the tail end of the first.
Yeah, right at the end. So here's the order after them. It's New England, not going to get a quarterback. The Packers, they're definitely drafting a wide receiver. The Cardinals, I mean, they're about to ink Kyler Murray to $1 million deal. The Cowboys, they just did ink Dak Prescott to $1 million deal. The Bills, not looking for a quarterback. The Titans, maybe. The Bucks, probably not. The Packers again. The Chiefs, the Bengals, the Lions. So I would say you're taking a risk with the Tennessee Titans at 26, but if the Tennessee Titans don't pick a quarterback, I think you could push it back as far as 32.
So the Ravens, whenever they moved up to take Lamar at pick number 32, they sent pick 52, 125, and then a second round pick in the following year to Philadelphia in exchange for the 32nd pick and the 132nd pick. So basically, they swapped second round picks of that year and then gave them an additional second round pick the following year. So probably somewhere around there. But I would guess would be compensation, which it seems fair. I don't think that's highway robbery on any side of that deal.
No, then my question was going to be, do you think you could give up a third round pick? Do you think you could just give up your first and your third, say whatever, there it is, let's keep it trucking here. You just got 2 first round picks. You got your quarterback and your safety. You could get your wide receiver at pick 2 and then just wait it out till the 5th round or the 4th round and feel pretty good. Right? At that point, you're just coasting. You've done the major damage that you need to do. Go get everybody else you need to get later in these rounds. I think that could work.
Yeah, I think the Steelers would still try to be creative instead of waiting. For example, was it last year where they didn't have a pick for an extremely long amount of time. Then they just packaged a couple late round picks together and moved up and got Loudermilk, right?
Yeah. They moved into the 4th round, 5th round, whatever it was.
Something like that,
yeah. Yeah. And they only sent a 4th. I believe they only sent their 4th this current year for what they got to Loudermilk. Obviously, it was a lot going on there, but I could see that. I could see them moving back up. They have 2 7ths. You could work with that to move back up into the 3rd round, 4th round, whatever you're feeling, trade some picks next year. They love to do that. I mean, they still have a 4th round pick next year. there's 100% chance they're trading that by the end of this draft. Yeah, they don't do that. They don't keep fourth-round picks. Fourth-round picks are pointless. The only people that have come out of that is Josh Dobbs, which I actually believe is a fifth-round pick, so I take that back. Benny Snell, fourth-round pick.
Dotson was a fourth-round pick, so the jury's still out on him. Then Dan Moore was a fourth-round pick last year, too.
Dan Moore was a fourth-round pick. So was Buddy Johnson. So they will move on from their fourth-round pick.
Yeah.
Chances are. I think you can move back in, not have to go that long gap without drafting guys. I think a third-round option or a third-round pick could move, but that's my philosophy. And I'm going to keep that one trucking for a little while just based off what I've seen.
Scale 1 to 10, how surprised would you be if they leave the entire 2022 NFL draft without a quarterback?
Oh, I'd be stunned. I'd be stunned. That would make no, unless that would make no sense because I don't believe the quarterbacks are going to go off very fast. I think right now the quarterbacks have a lot of hype, but once those guys start moving in here, teams are going to be like, why would we take Malik Willis right now when we can take Kyle Hamilton? Why would we take Desmond Ridder right now when, we could take this guy or that guy? And there's a million of those names. That first round, that second round is pretty loaded. I just don't think that's going to be an issue. You know what I mean? I think by the third round, there's still going to be names. I don't think Carson Strong goes until the fifth round. And they'll take Carson Strong if need be. But think about it. Who's going to take, if you're in the third round and Carson Strong's made it to the end of the third round, who's taking him after the third round? Who's we need Carson Strong on our team over guys like Nick Cross and George Pickens and Justin Ross and Chad Muma. And there's a billion names out there that will still be around in the third round. Nah.
Peep the comments, bro. Kevin Colbert did say we got 21 starters out of the 22.
We did, and he said the strong safety was the one that we didn't have. So you need a strong safety.
I think what I said earlier in the offseason still kind of resonates, that the Steelers have done a good enough job to cover their bases to the point where they don't feel like they need to panic and go do something crazy or drastic. An example, Terrell Edmonds. An example, Artie Burns. And go do something based purely off of need. I think if one of their guys is there, and they've done very extensive research on the quarterback. So I think by now they have a very good feeling on either where some guys are going to go or how they feel certainly about those guys. I think if their guys there, cool. If not, here's a list of other guys they feel like can come to Pittsburgh and play football for them at a high level immediately. And I think that's the case. I don't feel like they're gonna sit there and whatever happens and we need to call up the phone, go make a move. I think they're cooling. I really think draft night, ordering pizza, maybe some wings with them, chilling. Somebody follows them, they fall.
I agree. Just to address this one, I don't think that they're interested in Pickett at all. Nothing that they've said, done, shown, anything has suggested that they want Kenny Pickett at all whatsoever. Malik Willis, obviously, they're putting a lot in there, but I think they're putting, if you're going to rank how much interest they've shown in these quarterbacks, Malik Willis is number one. As of late, it is Desmond Ridder, but Sam Howell has been years in the making here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's something that you cannot overlook. They don't need to look at a guy right now to understand that they've had interest in him for the past 2.5 years. So I would say Sam Howell is number 3, and then, there's probably 2 other quarterbacks before they've shown interest in Kenny Pickett, which I don't agree with, but that's just what it is.
You're both the Steelers and the Pitt guy. Why don't you think they're interested in Pickett? Genuinely, why do you think the interest is not there for him?
In Pickett?
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of reasons, but I think that one of the reasons is the Steelers are smart enough to understand that there is going to be way too much pressure on Kenny Pickett to succeed in Pittsburgh. You're you're already up here if you're Kenny Pickett. You walk in there, you need to be the starter day one, and if you're not the starter day one, you're already a bust. Fans will legit boo Mitchell Trubisky from the jump, and they don't want any of that. They don't want any of that. They're going to get that with Malik Willis. They're going to get that with Desmond Ridder. But I just don't think that they want any of that.
Do you think, and like this kind of like comes back in every quarterback conversation you have about these guys in the draft, do you think the quote unquote lack of upside kind of hurts Kenny Pickett? Because you look at a guy like Malik Willis and you're like, oh man, like he can develop into something crazy special. Like if everything pans out the way it could. Like not a lot of people are saying that about Kenny Pickett. Like Kenny Pickett's thing that he has going for him right now is he's probably the most like pro-ready quarterback. Like I think out of anybody, he's probably the guy you want starting from day one if you had to choose somebody.
Yep.
But like if you're banking on upside, I mean, like a lot of people just don't think that's there with him.
No, it's not there. And I mean, maybe it could be there. There's a lot of quarterbacks that come in and say, hey, they have a small ceiling, but that can grow. And I think that is a guy like Kenny Pickett. I think the big thing is this, the first part of your argument is he's pro-ready right now, and the Pittsburgh Steelers don't want a quarterback that's pro-ready right now. They want Mitchell Trubisky and Mason Rudolph to battle for this job, and they believe that Mitchell Trubisky can be somebody that next year has a better quarterback competition with the second-year guy. You know, like if Mitchell Trubisky has a good first season with the Pittsburgh Steelers and they got Desmond Ridder sitting on the bench ready to go, then we feel real good about the future instead of right now. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have a plan for right now. They're looking for more of the future. That's my thing. Yeah. Just to address some stuff here, just so everybody is totally aware, I talk to the same people Dale Lally talks to. So you're going to toss quarterback names out here, just toss them to me, and I'll let you know what people are saying. No disrespect to Dale. I love Dale. But it is. Shoes too big to fill. That's what it is. That's what it is. I don't think Kenny Pickett's really an option right now. I'm not saying that I feel good about anybody else like Sam Howell or Carson Strong or Matt Corral to that point. I'm just saying that at this point, they look like options for the Pittsburgh Steelers that nobody really wants to admit. All right. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. We appreciate you as always. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Use our promo code at Manscaped for 20% off plus free shipping. Be a friend, to tell a friend to like this video. I'll be back tomorrow with Derek for some draft talk. Peace.